What's up?
Trying to figure out what that is.
That's the question of the day. What does it look like?
Kind of looks like a. I think I see a person.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Kind of crossing his arms like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what a lot of people say too. I'll pull back the curtain on this thing. It's the redness is a filter, and it's zoomed in to this object right here. That thing. So what you saw there was that part of it. See So this is a piece of linen. 3.5 feet wide, 14 feet long. Back in the day, that's how they buried people. They just put them cover them up. And so this is the front, and that's the back. And then there's all these red dots, that's all blood. And then actually, if you were in real life looking at this, it's housed in Turin, Italy. It's behind like a big glass case and protected and everything. It's been around for 2,000 years. But if you were to see it in person, it'd look very like faint, like you couldn't see anything at all if you were like this close up to it. But then if you step back and you're over here, then the image starts to come through. It's like a dot matrix kind of an image. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like dot matrix, like the more dots close, the darker it is. And then the farther the dots are, the lighter color it is. That's how the image is formed. So, but nobody knew that until they tested it. Back in 78, you had this duality. People were like, well, that's got to be Jesus. Left over from the resurrection. The act somehow caused that image.
Do we know when this fabric was carbon dated too?
Yeah, we do. What they did was they put together a team called the Shroud of Turin Research Project, and they put the top experts on it with the top technology. They had like 72 so many hours just to collect data, and then they put it back under lock and key again. But from all the data they collected and all the microscopes and the spectrometry and all of that stuff, they found some miraculous details. Actually, they called them enigmas because they defy physics, and essentially. All right. When they started this test, they were like, oh, it's going to be a painting. We're going to go and find the brush strokes or something, but there's no paint. That image is not paint. There's no pigment. It's no directionality. It's not an albedo image like a traditional light bounces off an object and then onto a substrate. Maybe it's got silver nitrate on it and some other things like a picture. That's an albedo image. It's not one of those. So in other words, the cloth itself collected the image directly. How that happened. But basically some of the details about this is that there's also a 3D image encoded into it. That dot matrix I was telling you about, that allows for basically 3D. It's like an X-ray. And there's a machine called a VP8 image analyzer. They used to put X-rays through that so they could make it 3D. Because with an X-ray, you could do that. It doesn't work with the normal photo. Like an albedo image I was just telling you about, you put one of those pictures in there and it's all flat. There's no 3D anything about it. But they put this image in there and they had enough 3D information to form that figure. This is the same way he was laying in that image, with the hands crossed and the legs bent a little bit, all of that, head tilted a hair. That's how he was laying there. So essentially what they did was when they buried him, they laid the cloth down and then they put his body down on this. His back would be here, and then they folded it over. And when they look at all the findings, they're like, well, how could this image have possibly been formed? They looked at the way the image is on the fibrils. It's only on the outer layer. And there's microfibers in there. You see that? There's all those there's linen. So there's all those microfibers. You zoom in even closer, and that image right there is only on the very outer microfibrils. So it didn't even get into the full thread. It's just on the outer microfibrils. And then even there on the microfibril, it's only on the outer edge of the microfibril. It doesn't penetrate the entire fiber. Okay, so they're like, what could possibly do that? Radiation. They're like, tried to reverse engineer this thing. Well, it must be some kind of radiation. I'm not going to bore you with the details of that today, right now. But it being radiation and this coloring, that color, like we said, there's no pigment or anything. It's oxidation. It's that color because it's been oxidized. But it's been pinpoint oxidized only on the very outer layer of the microfibrils. Did you get that? Is that not amazing?
No, that's actually pretty spectacular.
Yeah. And so the question is, but this thing is real. It's in Turin, Italy. That image is on there. So how did it get there? We've never had any kind of Jesus, 2,000 years old, 2,000 years ago. Okay. When he was buried. So we got a window. All right. What kind of technology has humanity had in the last 2,000 years that could possibly have done that? Nothing. There's an organization out there that'll pay $1 million to anybody who can replicate the image. Nobody can do it. $1 million just sitting out there. People try to. There's 42 enigmas about it. The rules is that you have to match all 42 enigmas. Because if you can only do one of the things, well, you still have the whole rest of the image you can't replicate. It's like, the details broken down like that. I only point those out because that's just enough to know that whoever made this image must have been the creator of the universe. Just logically. Because that's oxidation. And oxidation requires time. You set linen out in the sun, it'll turn yellow and brown longer you leave it out there and stuff, and dirty and dingy. That's what that coloring is. That's oxidation. So, to make that oxidation happen, whatever process that was, whatever physical thing that was, it must have been something that only the creator could know how to do. He's got control of everything. I mean, he made everything, so he's got control of everything. If it's a physical reality and it can be done physically, he's the only one who could possibly put it all together to make it happen. But that's the thing. If it only happened one time, then we know that resurrection is a reality. It's a real physical thing that can happen. Just the notion of it. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if resurrection is a possible physical thing that can happen, is that something you want? Would you want to be resurrected and live forever? If it's been able to be done before, if it's been done once, it can be done again. That's why he resurrected Lazarus, to say, hey, I got this power, I can do this. He resurrected Lazarus from the dead, but then he also said, you know what? Look, they stabbed him after he died, through the heart and the lungs. Okay? He didn't know about that stab. Conceptually, he was dead already. How's he supposed to come back from the dead when he's got a stab through his heart and his lung? He doesn't even know about it. See what I'm saying? Got to be the creator. But if it happened, then it happened. Either did or didn't, right? That's the question of the century. Did it or not? Because all of God's plan of salvation, everything he says throughout all of Scripture hinges on one thing. They'll make or break it. And that's whether or not Jesus came back from the dead. If he didn't really come back from the dead and he's alive right now, then it's all hogwash. Stupid. It's sad. It's pitiful. All of Christianity. Because it's all based on this one thing that he resurrected. And the thing is that he said when he was last here, and he said a lot of stuff. He basically said, look, I'll resurrect you too, but we just got to be reconciled. We got to be in agreement. We got to be reconciled. And so that's the next question is, do you want to be reconciled with Christ? Because if you're reconciled with Christ, then he'll resurrect you from the dead to eternal life.
I mean,
do you want it?
I don't know. This has been something I've been thinking about for like since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not too sure. But I do appreciate you telling me about this. This is honestly really cool.
Yeah. Well, I'd like you to research it. Really keep looking at this physical object. It's real, man. And I've got a playlist of where just some videos that I found on the internet that do a better job than I can ever do explaining the details and the science and everything.
Is it on my QR?
It's on my channel. There's a playlist called Believe the Resurrection. And if you just watch that, then you'll see a good place to start researching this. But man, it's all about the resurrection. Is if this ever happened. Do you follow fusion technology?
No.
Well, I have. And as far as I've grown up until lately, they've always said it's impossible. It's like the perpetual engine machine. Like fusion technology, theoretically, it's great. It's like the sun. Eternal energy, basically. It feeds itself in a way. Mm-hmm. But they always say we can't manually do fusion technology because of the restraints of physics. We can't do it on the earth. We'd have to we'd be making a sun if we do fusion technology. That's what had been the talk throughout all I can remember. But as of late, do you know that they've done fusion technology? They've solved the problems that was in the way, the restraints of physics. They did. They got more energy out of a fusion reaction than they put into it. So just on the concept, they achieved fusion technology, the thing that they said was impossible. The only thing is they didn't know how to do it. It's a physical reality. They just didn't know how to do it. It's always been there. Throughout all of human history, fusion technology has always been real. It's just nobody knew how to do it. Nobody knew even what it was so far back. All right? But now nuclear age, we know what it is. And we're like, hey, yeah, let's try fusion technology instead of fission. Fission is Hiroshima. It blows up. It expels the energy and that's it. Burns away. Fusion, it's kind of like, it keeps going. So it's like, yeah, let's do fusion technology. But we can't. Until we know how to do it. Now we know how to do it. So now, guess what? It was physically real the whole time. We just didn't know. Like the resurrection. It has been physically real the whole time. Just the only person who knows how to do that is the Creator, right? And here, He's the only one who can do it. And here He is promising to do it. And think about this also, is that He destroys the destroyers of the earth when He returns. So this whole resurrection and the everlasting life, big picture, right? It's like, what am I looking forward to in resurrected life? You know, it's like, do I want to be resurrected? Well, what might that be like? Just consider everything is perfect and nothing is wrong. And you're on the earth to live forever. Just 60,000 foot view. Okay. Because that's essentially His promise. On, big picture face value, live forever. Everything is perfect. Nothing is wrong. Christ reigns, everlasting. And His goodness is always new. He's always coming up with something new. It never ends. Right? But again, it all just comes down to whether or not this one thing ever even happened in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah. What's your name, bud?
Jackson.
Jackson? I'm Joshua.
Nice to meet you.
Let me give you that.
Thank you.
There's the QR code on the back if you want it. But, yeah, join the community and leave some comments.
Okay.
As you find and discover things, and I'll talk with you on there too. All right. Or if you see me around here, feel free to just stop by again.
Well, thanks for talking to me.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for stopping.
You good there?
You too.